Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well, and as the title claims, this is one attack strategy that will let you master all the tricks in Clash of Clans. It's going to unlock all the fun possible in the entirety of the game. So we're going to start off with the origin. I'm going to quickly preview all these tricks, and here is the Town Hall 16 creation of this attack, a little attack strategy I like to call Hero Swag City. And I call it this because this attack is all about maximizing the ability of our heroes. This is the strongest pairing of charges and equipments, the best synergy for your heroes in the game. Nothing beats this, nothing will allow you to do all this, and to drive the point home, going to be tripling a Town Hall 17 with a Town Hall 16 without using an army. And this is going to be the underlying theme to all the versions of this attack. An AQ Warden Rage Gem powered charge with a BK to help meet up and open up walls, and a parallel RC Spirit Walk. So now that we've covered the strongest and best use of our heroes, we're going to cover the strongest and best use of an army composition to benefit and synergize with our heroes. And in doing so, we'll be able to swag all of our spells. It's absolutely insane. You can do this once a day in Legend League. We're simply just destroying bases. You can even select spells based solely on their cosmetic benefit. At Town Hall 16 and below, the strat is going to be about 10 times easier, less multi-targeting defenses, specifically no fire spitters to worry about. Then we're going to go into the fireball version. You can swag 11 spells on that base. Then we're going to take a quick brief intermission to go over the coolest LaLo in the game, created by my friend Keezer. It is a Hound Block Minion Prince Ice Glide, using Ice Block spells to stop the Hounds over critical defenses so that they can tank for the Minion Prince, and he can do a little charge or Minion Prince glide in behind them, called the KueLo. So we can also do this in the main strat that I'm showing you, Hero Swag City. We can replace the RC with the Minion Prince in essentially every version of the strat, so just keep that in mind. So from the Minion Prince glide into the Zap version of Hero Swag City, now we have a hooked, cloned Super Yeti version. Now we've got another Keezer trick, the Quad Quake Spikey Ball trick, great for eliminating stacked invisibility spell compartments. Then we're going to use it again in combination with the Giant Arrow. Notice the Giant Arrow eliminated one of the 9 buildings in this invisibility spell compartment section, so that the BK Spikey Ball that only targets 8 can finish off every single building in the compartment. So now we're going into the Sneaky Gob version. And the Sneaky Gob version is very fun, especially if you have a Town Hall next to the outside of the base. From the Sneaky Gob version, we're going to go into the Bat Bomb version. Then we're going to add on to the Bat Bomb version by incorporating in the Fireball. So we were able to eliminate some critical splash defenses and then send the Bat Bomb in at about 11 o'clock to clean up. So from Bat Bomb, we're going into Super Archers. You could also clone Blimp Super Wizards, Super Yetis, Super Bowlers, Super Minions, even an E-Drag. Really the choice is yours, whatever fun you're feeling like having on that day, on that hit. So from Clone Blimp, we're going into Zap Giant Arrow. And the great thing about this is that we're conserving spell space so that we can use those conserved spells to now do things like collaterals. Notice these spell towers, just 2 EQs with a Giant Arrow will eliminate the spell tower, and then we can send in 2 zaps to take out the Inferno towers. So again, we are doing a triple collateral, zooming in so the arrow is on target, and then dropping in some lightnings to kill all these Inferno towers. So now we're going to combine the Giant Arrow with the Fireball. So use the BK to eliminate some trash, Ice Golem to stall up this Ricochet Cannon, Invis down, and Fireball all the way across the map and eliminate the Town Hall. So now we can combine the Zap Giant Arrow with the Fireball. We're going to zap out the Monolith compartment, and then we're going to Fireball the Town Hall. So we tested with a Barb, Sneaky Tesla, use the Tesla to aim, and now we just have to do 2 invisibility spells since we zapped out that compartment in front of the Town Hall and eliminate the entire Town Hall section. So if you notice the Monolith and Multi-Archer Tower, those have already been EQ'd and zapped since there were no builder huts next to them to repair them. So this way we can safely put the EQs, zaps down, Giant Arrow comes through, eliminates the Monolith and the Multi-Archer Tower. We got a Golem tanking these 2 Expos to protect our AQ, waiting for some defenses to go down, so we only have to use 2 invisibility spells and eliminate the core with the Fireball. So here we have one of the major differences between Town Hall 16 and below and Town Hall 17, and that is you can use the Flame Flinger to kill the Town Hall. The Flame Flinger will outrange the Town Hall. So we use some barbs with headhunters to kill the BK, send the Flame Flinger in to kill the Town Hall. So here we have a triple collateral. We'd use the EQs, the zaps. We don't have to worry about builder huts. Going to EQ this Town Hall. There's no place to shoot the giant arrow from 12, so we send the Warden in at 12, recall him, shoot the giant arrow from 6, go all the way through, eliminate all these core defenses and the Town Hall, redeploy the Warden in behind the AQ to benefit from the Warden Rage Gem, as always. So this is to show you that the Fireball takes longer to hit the monolith than the giant arrow, and we needed to hit and target that monolith at the same time so that the invisibility spell tower would not throw off one of our equipments. So now we're into the Skelly Donut version. An EQ, we need to stall a Builder Huts, followed by a Rage, then followed by Invis, followed by some Skeleton spells. Waiting for that monolith to go down, and notice by removing the monolith, now the monolith won't be able to target our AQ that would not have been able to reach the monolith. So this is showing you that you can also do combos. So did Skelly Donut to eliminate the clan castle, and now you're sending in some sneaky gobs to eliminate this Town Hall. So you can have as much fun as you want in the game. So here we're going to do a Skeleton Donut in combination with a Fireball, using the Ice Block or the Training Wheels to make sure that our Fireball goes to the right spot and that our Warden doesn't take too much damage, pulling the Warden with our AQ. And here is about as insane as you can get in the game. We are doing a Skeleton Donut followed by a Fireball, and then we're also going to send Sneaky Gobs in for the Town Hall. So you can have as much fun in the game as you want. And this is about as crazy as Clash gets. So using the haste, send those Sneaky Gobs in pretty quick. Need about 5 of them, 5 or 6. Invisibility spell to protect them. And this is one of the 2 hardest, most difficult strats in the game. This is a double recall AQ bomb. So we need the AQ to get hooked, then we use her ability, Magic Mirror, we rage her up, we put invisibility spells down, we let the AQ go to work, we recall the Warden out of harm's way, so that's the 1 recall. Then when our AQ is about dead, we recall her back, redeploy them for the double recall, and this is the single hardest strat in the game. This is the Skeleton Donut for the Town Hall and the Clan Castle. And if one single skeleton is not covered by the invisibility spells, the Town Hall Inferno Artillery will rain down on that skeleton, and the splash damage will kill all of your 6 or 7 skeleton spells deployed. Alright, so our previews have finished. On to the main video. And this is a quick overview of the hero roles and responsibilities. So we need to remove problematic defenses to make sure our AQ and healers are safe. Warden Rage Gem to support the AQ, BK to meet up with the AQ and Warden, Tank and open up the core for them to give access to the core for the AQ. Then we send either the RC or the Minion Prince in along the side of the AQ to keep the AQ in the core, distracting defenses for our RC or Minion Prince. And then we use Ice Golems or Ice Hounds to freeze up the defenses that our AQ cannot distract for them. So perfect hero synergy. Alright, so on to important Town Hall differences for everybody out there. So the biggest difference between Town Hall 17 versus Town Hall 16 and below is that the AQ healers are within range of the Inferno Artillery, and the same goes for the Flame Flinger. So healers on the AQ charges in, healers are within range, and healers get splash damage from the Inferno Artillery. So now notice we have the Warden powering the AQ, and the healers started on the Warden. Healers are focused on the Warden, and the splash from the healers actually keep the healers alive and keep the healers out of range of the Inferno Artillery. So here we have the Flame Flinger showing that the Flame Flinger cannot reach the Town Hall, and that is huge. So notice Town Hall 16, Flame Flinger comes up, stops, it's within range, does not get targeted. Here's another important difference for all of you crazy enough to do the Skeleton Donut on the Town Hall or anywhere near the Town Hall, is that the Town Hall splash damage from the Inferno Artillery will absolutely eliminate all of your skeleton spells if you are a second late with an invisibility spell, or if one of those skeletons appears outside of the invisibility spell. And notice the Town Hall is in a compartment all by itself, so you really don't have to worry about that. So differences to pay attention to. We have the Fire Spitter because it will kill your healers, And we have the Ricochet Cannon because it will ricochet from your AQ, your higher hit point AQ, to kill your lower hit point Warden, and it will do the same to the RC and the Spirit Fox. And we want to keep the Warden and the Spirit Fox alive as long as possible. So here, showing the Fire Spitter, what it can do to healers. And notice, it will take these healers down to where only 1 or 2 red air bombs would be able to finish them off. Alright, so the second major defense that we need to watch out for is the Ricochet Cannon, because notice the higher hit point AQ out in front of the Warden. Ricochet Cannon ricochets to the Warden, kills the Warden because he has lower hit points, and if there's not a rage on that Ricochet Cannon, it's very deceptive because your AQ will appear healthy while your Warden dies. So how do we deal with them? We can use our equipments to eliminate the fire spitters or come in from behind them, and for Ricochet Cannons, we simply distract them with our Ice Golems. So why Ice Golems? Well, it's simple, because they have nearly double the duration and double the effective area than the nearest alternatives, which are invisibility spells and free spells. So here, we'll show an example. Free spell, 4x4 building, just dropped it 1.5 tiles away, did not freeze the Town Hall. Absolutely insane. 1.4 tiles is the effective radius on a 4x4 building. Now we're moving on to 3x3 buildings, again with the freeze spell, starting at 2 tiles away, happens to work, and we get to freeze a little bit farther away from a 3x3 because we're actually freezing the core. Always the effective point is the center of these buildings. So now we're going on to a 2x2 building, so we should be able to freeze from farther away. Started at 2.1 tiles away, which is where we ran out of freeze for our 3x3 building. Just went to 2.5, can still freeze a 2x2. Now we're going on to 2.6, unable. So the max freeze radius is 2.5, and that is on a 2x2 building. So now just going to drop down an invisibility spell for 4 tile radius, so we could cover our AQ and our Warden, but we could not cover our AQ, Warden, and healers. And if we add the BK into the mix, we still can't cover all 3 of our heroes together. So now just showing how much better the Ice Golem is. So notice where the Tombstone is. This is 7 tiles away from the Inferno Tower, and it's 1 tile diagonal, so it's absolutely insane. Now we're going to drop another Ice Golem down on the Inferno Tower to measure its range for a 3x3 building. Remember, it's to the center of the building, so this should be a shorter range than for the Inferno Tower. Measuring by the Tombstone, we can reach 5 tiles away, and that is 1 diagonal. So now we're just going to test, see the limits, trying for 6 tiles away, seeing if we can still freeze this monolith. Ice Golem dies, measuring from the Tombstone, cannot reach the monolith. So 5 for a 3x3 building and 7 for a 2x2 building. Absolutely insane why Ice Golems are OP. So here we have the video layout, starting with the origin, quest for fun at Tunnel 16. Then we have the best hero synergy, and this hero synergy is the fundamental underlying mechanic that makes anything and all tricks possible. From there, we move on to the 2 Legend League versions, because there's 2 versions that work on every base. From the Legend League versions, we'll move on to the rest of the attacks, which are the crazy tricks, the most insane tricks in the game, and they will be arranged in order of increasing difficulty, increasing risk, and increasing fun. And the best advice that I can give anybody serious about learning these attacks is base identification. We have to be able to identify a base's weakness and exploit them to be able to land the most insane tricks in all of Clash. So, starting with the origin, managed to upgrade Giant Arrow and FB around the same time and wanted to learn both of them as fast as possible, so ended up combining them into this attack strategy, which I like to call Hero Swag City, because this is all about just really fancy spell usage and then letting your heroes power through the rest of the base. So setting up our Flame Flinger, always nice to get free buildings with the Flame Flinger. Testing for some Teslas near the Town Hall, because we do not want our Fireball to go anywhere. Using some Rocket Loons to remove some buildings. So now all we have to do is drop our AQ up at 12, shoot through the Wizard Tower, kill that air defense, and then we can FB the Town Hall. And then notice the Monolith and this multi-Inferno Tower in the core. We're going to zap them out with 2 EQs, or 1 EQ, and 2 Lightnings. So 3 EQs over the Town Hall, Giant Arrow through, managed to clip the monolith and put our zaps down to eliminate the monolith and the multi-inferno. So now we do not have to worry about our AQ having to deal with them in the core. So now, as you can see, the entire core of this base is gutted, and the AQ can just walk around the base at her leisure. So we just made it very easy for an AQ charge, and that is everything that you want to do with this attack strategy. You want to make your AQ charge as easy as possible. So notice we have the Warden powering our AQ with his Rage Gem. We have the BK meet up with the AQ, and you always want your BK to meet up with your AQ so he can push into the core, tank for the AQ, and then use his EQ boots to open up and give access to your AQ and Warden. So now the AQ has range throughout this entire base. So now we're just being patient, and notice how the AQ can just handle this entire base by herself because she's being powered by the Warden Rage Gem. Got the healers on her, only brought an additional healer, only using the 3 healers that came with her, and an additional healer because at Tunnel 16 there's really not too many multi-targeting defenses that can make this attack fail. So notice this Ricochet Cannon shooting the BK. BK is still distracting for the AQ, and notice I used Rocket Loons in this because at Tunnel 16 there's not that many multi-targeting defenses compared to Tunnel 17. We have one less Ricochet, we have one less multi-archer tower, and we do not have any fire spitters, so we do not have to stall up those defenses. So we can just pick them off with Rocket Loons or anything else. You can literally use any troop that you want to distract. So that's the big difference between Tunnel 17 and Tunnel 16 is there are far less multi-targeting defenses. So now we're going to go into the Tunnel 16 versus Tunnel 17, no army hit. And this is all about base identification and the same hero synergy as what we just saw. So this base was almost made specifically to be tripled without no army. First hit this in Legend League, swagged about 280 troops, and figured could bring it the rest of the way and not use any army at all. So got the Flame Flinger down doing some work, luckily no Teslas, sending in the AQ. And notice that giant arrow is to trip the invisibility spells, specifically the invisibility spell tower of the left corner compartment, so that now our BK can enter that compartment and absolutely destroy it and get it out of the road for the rest of our heroes. And notice the giant arrow also eliminated 2 trash buildings to make sure that the BK gets funneled into that left corner compartment. So now we're going to drop in the RC to funnel our AQ into the core and also to benefit from the AQ tanking. So notice like the wizard towers, especially when you are at a lower town hall and there's not so many multi-targeting defenses, these defenses will be distracted by the AQ, and the RC can walk in behind them and freely pick them off. And that is the hallmark of this attack. It's a AQ charge powered by the Warden Rage Gem that tanks in the core for your RC to sneak around and eliminate the outside defenses. And the defenses that aren't distracted by the AQ, we simply drop an Ice Golem to distract them. So now going to RC ability, using the Rocket Spirit to eliminate this Town Hall, and once the Town Hall goes down, this base is wrecked. And we're also going to swag 9 spell space, absolutely insane, and what made this possible is the best hero equipment synergy in the game, along with base identification. There's not many bases you can do this on. This base was practically made so that I could show you the strongest hero equipment synergy, and by breaking a base down, which you will see in all of these tricks, you can make your AQ charge easy, and that's what we want to do in all of these versions of this attack. We want to try to break a base down to make our AQ charge as easy as possible. So on to the full 14 spell space swag version. And back before the Legend League rework, you could do this once or twice a day in Legend League. It was absolutely insane. So what makes this version so strong and what makes this version possible to swag every single spell in your army comp is that we have 2 levels of protection for our AQ. We have the AQ ability, so that keeps her alive 1 time, and then we also have the Warden Eternal Tome, so we can Eternal Tome the AQ, her clones, and the Giant in the core to keep her alive 3 times. So she starts with the first life, and we have the ability for a second life, Eternal Tome for a 3rd life. and you can alter which ability you want to use first, and that's specifically dependent on if your healers are in danger. Sometimes your healers become in danger, so you might want to use the Eternal Tome. But notice this base, notice the base identification, both fire spitters facing away. So we're able to use the Warden to come in behind, and we are after the fire spitter. Remember, I said fire spitters are one of the worst defenses in the game for this. So by eliminating this fire spitter, now we do not have to worry about our healers going down right away. So now we're sending in an ice golem, and the ice golems are out in front. So the main purpose of the ice golems is to stall up these defenses so that we do not have to use our hero abilities till we're inside the core. Because we, just like what we saw, we want to break a base down to where we're working on 1 or 2 defenses at a time. So these defenses, when we're working on them 1 or 2 at a time, do not overwhelm our AQ or our BK and force them to ability. So now the BK walks up towards the edge of the wall, exactly where we wanted him to go. So we use this ability to open up the compartments for our AQ. So now she has full range of almost the rest of the space. So now dropping in an ice golem, trying to tank this ricochet cannon, tanks the ricochet cannon. That will keep our spirit fox alive, because remember, the ricochet cannon bounces off the RC, kills the spirit fox. So now we have the AQ who went to ability, so we have the 2 clones, and we have the giant. RC to ability, outranging this multi-inferno, and we want the RC to outrange this multi-gear cannon. So now we have the giant, second BK out in front of the AQ tanking. We're not even going to have to use our Warden Eternal Tome ability. Dropping in a Ice Golem for the hell of it at the back end, and swag all 14 spell space. This is just absolutely insane. You can do this in war whenever you want. There's always 1, 2, or 3 bases that you can find that you can absolutely just trash. Speaking of typical bases and layouts that you can absolutely trash in war with this, is this base right here. So again, we're going to come in from behind the fire spitters, and we're going to pick apart this base 1 defense or 2 defenses at a time, and that is what you want to do. You want to conserve your hero abilities till you're inside the core where they count and matter the most. So Flame Flinger value, always. I use the Flame Flinger 99% of the time for this attack. So dropping down the AQ, powered by the Warden Rage Gem. And what we're worried about is this Ricochet Cannon. Flame Flinger is just fine, doing work. Send out an Ice Golem to tank this Ricochet Cannon and to pop near the Ricochet Cannon. So the Ice Golem is about to pop. So now we have our Warden protected and our AQ. Dropping a Yeti at 12, because we want the Yeti to just kind of work at 12, and we want the Yeti Mites to spring forward and kill that Archer Tower, because we want to eliminate some defenses up towards the top so that we can direct target this Inferno Tower with some rocket loons. Also, notice this Expo. Expo is too far away for our AQ to reach, and that's the big difference between an AQ charge and a Warden charge. AQ has very short range, but she's much stronger. So with direct target, we have to adapt our range with rocket loons. So we use 3 for the Expo, and we use 4 or 5 for the Monolith. So now we have all of those eliminated, dropping in the BK, and notice we predicted the BK to meet up with our AQ, so we're able to drop him a little farther away so that he funnels in towards them, and now he's going to push in towards the core, sending in a Headhunter to deal with this enemy RC, and everything is looking amazing. So now we have the BK, also powered by the Warden Rage Gem. BK goes to ability, dropping down some rocket loons, trying to snipe this fire spitter, because fire spitters are so deadly because they hit everything, and that is another huge difference that makes Tunnel 16 and below so much easier than Tunnel 17. If you're Tunnel 16 and below and trying to do this in war versus other Tunnel 16s and below, you should be able to swag all your spells almost every attack. So dropping in Ice Golem, distracting this enemy minion prince. Remember how frustrating minion princes are to kill, not when they're frozen up by an Ice Golem that lasts 9 seconds. So now AQ ability, now we have 2 clones. Finishing off this base, Taking out the BK, RC goes to ability, and notice the spell selection. These spells, there's only 3 spells in this entire comp that are actually here to serve a benefit, and those are the 3 invisibility spells. The ice block spells are brought solely because they look cool when you're trying to swag. So notice we have an 11 ice block spell swag smiley face that we get to highlight with our 3 invisibility spells. So absolutely insane, and you can pick and choose what spells look the best. And if you're trying to swag, haste spells often work better because they last longer, so you can do some creative stuff that way. So this was at the beginning of the last Legend League season. Managed to pick up a Tunnel 16 and figured I would just happen to share the Tunnel 16 attack, because in case you're Tunnel 16 or lower, and if you are Tunnel 16 or lower, this attack strategy will absolutely destroy, because you do not have fire spitters. You have 1 less ricochet and multi-archer tower, and everything is just a single targeting defense that remains, and you can distract them with your AQ for your RC. So we're starting off with the Warden, creating funneling. Got some funneling created with the Flame Flinger, and we're going to meet up everything and push in from 12 o'clock. And this is back when we had the event army camps that were kind of annoying. And they were annoying because they would steal the Warden and they would really get in the way of pathing. So this is actually a lot better without the weird army camps. So sending in the Ice Golem, notice the Ice Golem to distract this Ricochet Cannon. And notice how I'm sending in the Ice Golems 1 at a time, because if I was to send in 2 Ice Golems at the same time, the Ricochet Cannon would have killed both of them, and I would have only had 9 seconds of freeze time instead of 18. So now that Ice Golem's almost all the way into the core. We have our emergency rocket loons. They're going to snipe this multi-arch tower, or multi-inferno tower, to protect our healers. Our Flame Flinger is still doing work. We're being patient with our RC. That is a compromise that you have to make in this attack strategy, because if you send your RC in too soon, the RC can be overwhelmed by some defenses herself. So we want to wait, let the AQ do as much work as possible, and then send the RC in at the opportune time. And the compromise is that we do not want a time fail. So the AQ is in the core and somehow managed to not even have to use the Eternal Tome or the AQ ability through the Town Hall Poison, which is kind of insane to me. So we got 1 Ice Golem left. Trying to time it for the RC. AQ is still doing work. So managed to freeze up most of these defenses. And we need the Spear Fox. We really want the Spear Fox to stay alive. So the Spear Fox stays alive. Now the RC has even more time to kill these defenses. Trying to drop in that balloon to help distract that multi-arch tower. And that is the big difference, again, between Tunnel 17 and Tunnel 16, is that the multi-targeting defenses can kill the pets behind your hero, specifically your RC, and the multi-targeting defenses can kill the Warden behind your AQ. So this base, perfect for Fireball, and in Legend League, before the rework, you could swag 11 spells on this base every time you saw it. After the rework, you can swag about 6 to 4 spells on this base every time you encounter it, or something similar. So notice the synergy between the Warden and the Flame Flinger. So we have the Warden distracting the Expo for the Flame Flinger, and the Flame Flinger is eliminating some defenses up at the top left so that we can launch the Fireball into the core of the base with only using 1 invisibility spell, since we will not have to put an invisibility spell down at the top left. So we're just being patient. We've got some rocket loons in case we need to speed up the Flame Flinger's effect. So just waiting for that Ricochet Cannon to go down from the Flame Flinger. About to go down. And notice all these trash buildings we left standing for the Warden to be distracted on. 1 invisibility spell down, Fireball to the core, eliminate the entire core and the Clan Castle. So now we drop down the AQ so that she benefits from the Warden Rage Gem. Dropping in that Ice Golem. Dropping in the BK. BK is to get hooked. BK gets hooked and now uses his EQ boots to open up the entire base for the AQ. And now we're just going to try to be a little bit patient with this AQ. And notice we're going to try to force our AQ in towards the core, in towards this town hall. And to do that, we're going to have to use our RC. And this is my favorite Legend League version in the current rework. The previous one, where you can swag all 14 spells, the biggest problem with that is the potential for time fails. With the fireball, you're able to quickly eliminate a section of the base, and you still have to worry about time fails, but not nearly as much as the previous version. However, both completely viable, and the reason they're Legend League versions is because they work on any base. You do not want to go into Legend League with a custom Skelly Donut version. So, swagging 11 spell space, this is also one of the problems you might have to run into. Make sure you practice your swag ahead of the attack so you know exactly how you're going to swag, so you do not time fail your swag. That's very frustrating. So RC finishing off the base. AQ steps up. Notice our unicorn is still alive, and that's one of the reasons I prefer the unicorn over Frosty, since Frosty seems to make it his life goal to die as fast as possible. So we're going to take a quick intermission from the main strat to go over the most fun LaLo in the entire game, and this was created by my friend Keezer, and this is the KueLo, which is a Minion Prince Ice Glide, meaning that we are going to be ice blocking 3 hounds. Notice 3 hounds to distract all 3 multi-archer tower shots, also air defenses, enemy heroes, scatter shots, etc. So our Minion Prince can effectively do a nice little charge in behind the blocked ice hounds. So creating pathing with his RC, recalling his RC, and notice how he's saving his RC ability for after being recalled. So now he can use his rocket spear down here at 6 to create even better pathing for his AQ and his BK to push into the core of the space, eliminate a lot of this core, and then once he crushes the core of the space with his hero dive, he's going to send in the 3 lava hounds, and he's going to send in his Minion Prince in behind them, then ice block the hounds over critical defenses to protect his Minion Prince. So it's almost doing an AQ charge only with your Minion Prince. He's got 3, always brings 3 Yetis with his log launcher. Notice this fire spitter. Wants his fire spitter to go down. Fire spitter goes down, and now notice the 3 hounds. 3 hounds within range of the multi-archer tower, within range of this enemy archer queen. So he ice blocks them to keep them safe. Enemy archer queen is distracted, goes ahead, ice blocks them again. Minion Prince is gliding in behind them. Notice the ice block spell still has them safe. Gonna go ahead, ice block them again. 1 hound popped. The hound that kept on getting targeted by the enemy archer queen, which is just fine. He still has 1 ice block left, and he just used the Minion Prince ability. He brings the henchman puppet so that the henchman can help power through the base, and the dark orb, because the dark orb is the most powerful Minion Prince ability. So now he just has this enemy royal champion and scatter shot to deal with. He's got 1 ice block left, and he's going to use his remaining rocket loons, shoot in next to this royal champion, ice block them to distract the royal champion, and the scatter shot for his Minion Prince to finish off the base. So this is basically doing an AQ charge, only instead of having healers behind your AQ, you have hounds in front of your Minion Prince. So it's absolutely insane. And now back to the regular attack strategy, what I've been showing you this entire time, and I just want to stress that you can send the Minion Prince in whenever you want in this attack. It's just, if I was to include all the different versions with the Minion Prince, this video would be about 2.5 hours long. So just keep that in mind. All these versions that you're seeing, you can substitute the RC with the Minion Prince. Notice we just used the Noble Iron, so that we eliminated that Expo for the Flame Flinger, which is something you can often do. And with this attack, I find you can substitute basically any Minion Prince equipment that you want besides the Dark Orb, because the Dark Orb, you need that to freeze up some defenses to synergize with your AQ and your Warden. And notice we are using the Eternal Tome on the Warden this time, because we are going to send our AQ in at the top right with the BK, open up towards the Town Hall, and then we'll be able to Eternal Tome, protect our AQ, and then while our AQ is protected and eliminate some of the core of the base, we create a nice little thin strip on the outside for our Minion Prince and I like to bring some Ice Hounds. So since I have the Ice Hounds and the Rocket Loons, not going to give up our Rocket Loons. Instead of trying to use regular wall breakers, just going to bring a jump spell. And remember the first attack that you saw, swagging all 14 spells? That is kind of a nice assumption with this attack strategy, is that you can substitute the spells you would have swagged at the end into the beginning to allow you to do whatever you want in all of Clash. So we got the Ice Hound out in front. No need to ice block yet because we can direct target that air defense. Now we have the Ice Hound in a very nice critical spot, distracting this Fire Spitter. We got the AQ working down here. Had the enemy BK, so we had to use an invisibility spell on her. Sending in our remaining Ice Hound from a different location to test for more traps. That air defense is still distracted by all the Ice Hounds. Gonna go ahead and use our ice block now. I was a little late with some cleanup, so the Minion Prince is going for a little walk around. AQ to ability, and when your AQ goes to ability, you want to watch your main AQ. So we're watching the health of our main AQ, and when our main AQ starts to get in trouble, then we use our Eternal Tome. So yeah, you can see what we swag, 5 spell space. And just keep that in mind, all these versions you can substitute in the Minion Prince, but there is a negative associated with using the Minion Prince, because the Minion Prince does not synergize with this army as well as the RC. When you use the Minion Prince, you're going to have to substitute out 2 invisibility spells for a jump spell, or any 2 spells for a jump spell. So now we go on to the Zap version. Remember, we're assuming that you can swag almost all of your spells on any base. So, Zap version. We're going to eliminate this Fire Spitter and the Rage Tower, because Rage Tower compartments are very detrimental to this attack strategy. Because if you remember the no army hit, we want to deal with these defenses almost one at a time, 1 or 2 at a time, so that we do not have to use any abilities. So now we have the Minion Prince. We would have had to deal with a bunch of defenses at the same time, so we send in the Ice Hound the Ice Golem to freeze them up, and that is the purpose of these Ice Golems initially for our initial hero dive. Ice Golems are in here to freeze up all of these defenses so that we can use our abilities deep in the core when they matter more. So we're sending in some Rocket Loons, and that's what these Rocket Loons are for. Rocket Loons are either to help create pathing for your Flame Flinger to eliminate maybe a Mortar or an Expo, and they're also to help protect your healers. So the AQ2 ability, use the Warden Eternal Tome to protect her even more. We have the Ice Golems, defending Ice Golems, and Furnace come out of the Clan Castle. And notice this Fire Spitter facing at our AQ, and that's why we wanted to eliminate the other Fire Spitter, because notice our RC. Our RC is coming from 12, and if our RC would have came from 12 and went directly into the Fire Spitter that we killed, our Spirit Fox would be dead already. This way, we're able to keep our Spirit Fox alive for longer, just cycled again, and we're able to eliminate that remaining Fire Spitter, no problem. And now we have 2 Ice Golems left, we got 5 Rocket Loons. We're going to try to direct target this multi-gear. We're a little late on that RC, but notice our Ice Golems again, 9 seconds of freeze. So timed our Ice Golems to distract these Ricochet Cannons. Remember, Ricochet Cannons, one of the worst defenses. So that's why we zapped that Fire Spitter, because we had a plan that we were going to send our RC in, and we did not want our RC and our Spirit Fox to go directly into that Fire Spitter, because our RC would have died nearly right away. And I did not count the correct amount of lightnings that I would have needed, so I had 1 extra lightning. Alright, from the Zap version, which is quite easy, onto the Sneaky Goblin version. And when you see bases like this that have a Town Hall right out in the open, they're begging to be sneaky gobbed. So we're just checking the base. We have this nasty hook tower right here. We're trying to find a location for our Flame Flinger. Always want to get some nice, good Flame Flinger value. Sending in a wall breaker. Gonna open up the spot for the Town Hall. Now we're going to get rid of these outside collectors with some sneaky gobs so that they will direct target the town hall. Last thing that you want to happen is have your spam sneaky gobs retarget to some outside collector. So we're testing for traps with one sneaky gob, managed to trip the tornado and a bunch of bombs. So now with all of them gone, now we can spam in the rest of our sneaky gobs, spamming in 6, and we're going to have to put down an invisibility spell. Remember, the Inferno Artillery does splash damage, so I just go ahead and put 2 invisibility spells over my sneaky gobs just to ensure that they eliminate the town hall. And notice there was no builder huts around this town hall. Builder huts can be a pain, but you can still power through them with the sneaky gobs. Also, if I were to have my Warden close to where the sneaky gobs were, I would have only wanted to use 5 sneaky gobs, because a Warden, just like it gets pulled by a Yeti at 18 housing space, or gets pulled by 4 loons at 20 housing space, it will get pulled by 6 sneaky gobs that is also 18 housing space. So you want to stay under that 18 housing space when using sneaky gobs around the town hall if you have the Warden within range. So use the BK to get hooked, because 15 housing space of sneaky gobs will not distract and pull the Warden, and we wanted the Warden to follow the AQ, which he did. So the BK got hooked to open up the core for the AQ and the Warden. Really no place to send the RC in to benefit with the AQ, so we're going to send the RC by herself. See, we have this Ice Golem to distract the Ricochet Cannon, and notice it's okay if the Ricochet Cannon bounces from the Ice Golem to the RC, as long as we keep the Spirit Fox healthy. And again, notice these Ice Golems are sent in one at a time, so that we are not overlapping the 9 seconds of freeze duration. So RC2 ability, going to arrange this multi-arch tower, and Ice Golem freezes up the bomb tower. Bomb tower is no big deal, but manages to freeze this enemy RC. And my big mistake was I did not drop an Ice Golem to protect that Warden at the beginning, so I lost the Warden Eternal Tome ability. So I would have had the Eternal Tome ability to even help my AQ in the core even more. But luckily, the sneaky gobs, exploiting the weakness on this base, absolutely able to destroy it. Alright, so this attack is for bases that are poorly built and have the hook tower towards the edge. And this is a Super Yeti clone. So remember, Super Yeti clones with your blimps, you can get them hooked into the core with a hook tower, and you can clone them up. And you can use this attack strategy to do it. So we're just testing. Going to drop our Warden down, and time can always be an issue with any strat, specifically this one though, because we are being very, very surgical, and being surgical requires time. So we got the Warden down, getting some work in right away. So now we get our Super Yeti hooked, Rager Super Yeti, trying to eliminate as much as possible. Notice these fire spitters again, trying to eliminate these fire spitters, and manage to take out one fire spitter. And we put our Warden at the right side, because now we should be able to come in behind the remaining fire spitter, and that's why we dropped our Warden down here at 6 instead of over at 9, because the hook was closer to the fire spitter at the bottom right side. So now we got the Warden dealing with the enemy CC. Got this minion working on this army camp just to the left of the Flame Flinger, and that is something you always want to do with the Flame Flinger. You want to make sure that you eliminate as much trash around the Flame Flinger as possible, so that when the super minions come out of the Flame Flinger, they can target something of substance. So now look at this Warden manage to be very stingy on the spell use and let him burn his ability. So now we do not have his ability in the core to protect our AQ. So we got the BK out in front of the AQ, tanking, and his job is to open up the core for her, as always. We have this Ice Golem, snuck him in, and luckily he got flung by a Springtrap so that he was able to activate his 9 seconds of freeze duration. So we're just paying attention to this AQ health, and when the AQ, the main AQ, well the only AQ at this point, when she's getting somewhat low, we want to pop her ability. And also, you can pop her ability to save on time. So notice this Ice Golem, down here for this multi-archer tower, also down here for this Ricochet Cannon. Sending in the RC, independent. And the only time you really send the RC in independent is when you're worried about time. And also, as in this case, there is a remaining fire spitter that would have roasted your Spirit Fox. Notice if I would have sent the RC in at the top left, the Fire Spitter would have killed the Spirit Fox. I could have avoided that by letting the AQ kill that Fire Spitter, but notice the time, crunched on time, so I had to go ahead and send the RC in from the right side. RC to ability. Notice that Warden Eternal Tome would have been nice to keep him alive in the core and speed the AQ up so that time wouldn't have been anywhere close. So, on to another teaser trick, and this is the Quad Quake Spiky Ball for an invisibility spell section. So notice this base is perfect, it's just ripe for some fun. And every time you see these invisibility spaces in War, you should just smile because these are the most fun bases a lot of times to attack. So we're going to Fireball the right invisibility spell compartment, and then we're using these wizards at the left side to eliminate some trash buildings so that we can just drop 1 or 2 invisibility spells to force the Spiky Ball directly into this left compartment, or this left invisibility spell compartment. So dropping in a couple Rockaloons, and as always, these Rockaloons are typically for setup to make our master plan come to fruition. So we were able to eliminate those Teslas, so now we'll only have to use 1 invisibility spell on this gold and elixir storage and this elixir collector to force our Spiky Ball right into that invisibility spell compartment. So Fireball eliminates the right invisibility spell compartment. Drop our AQ to benefit from the Warden Rage Gem. As always, healers down, power the AQ. They will be encountering few defenses at a time, so they are completely safe. Invisibility spell goes down, now Spiky Ball comes down, and the Quad Quakes. You need 4 to eliminate the Ricochet Cannon. Again, Ricochet Cannon is one of the most damaging defenses in the game. So now the AQ is encountering quite a few defenses at a time, enemy minion prints as well, so we have an Ice Golem down to freeze all of them for 9 seconds. Basically putting them on a timeout so they can't mess with our AQ. So now we got some Ice Golems down for our RC. RC again to benefit from our AQ distracting, and then to force our AQ into the core. So here is the difficult part with Ice Golems. Notice this monolith in the core. It's kind of raising some havoc. We could not get an Ice Golem in there because it's just too deep into the base. And that's really not a problem unless you're trying to swag as many spells as possible. So now we have the AQ wrapping around, and she's going to be able to come into the Town Hall compartment because remember our Quad Quake? We needed 4 Quakes to eliminate the Ricochet Cannon. Well, 4 Quakes also kills wall segments. So we're able to eliminate the walls and open up space for our AQ to get into the Town Hall compartment. And now we get to do a nice little smiley face swag with our 6 spells left over. So pretty crazy. We invested 6 EQs early to swag 6 spells at the end. Alright, so onto the same teaser trick. Notice the top compartment. We are going to absolutely destroy it. And the crazy thing about this attack is it is planned down to the 9s because there's 9 buildings in that top 12 o'clock compartment, so we are going to eliminate one with a giant arrow so that the Spiky Ball will remove the remaining 8. So again, setup, Yetis, often for setup as well. And I bring the Yetis because Yetis oftentimes are better than the Rockaloons at creating a funnel because you can get the same defense with the Yeti for less cost, less troop space. So Yetis in, they are to remove these wizards, and notice it's dropping in some wizards with the Yetis on the wizard towers so that the Yetis can power through the wizard towers, and now they'll be able to, if they were to die, the Yeti Mites would spring forward to another defense, but they're still alive for a little bit. So Yeti Mite's going to spring forward to another defense, and now the BK, we do not even have to use any invisibility spells. He's going to direct target that 12 o'clock section. So we have the Fireball on the Warden. We're going to try to Fireball the Town Hall, and we're going to try to kill it with the giant arrow and the Fireball. Also, since we want to be as synergistic as possible, we are going to use the giant arrow to eliminate. See, it eliminates this invisibility spell compartment. We had the Ice Golem to stop the enemy BK and to freeze up that Ricochet Cannon. I'm going to go ahead, drop the BK in, use his ability right away before the builder huts repair everything. So eliminate that entire section. Now we got another Ice Golem to help distract, and I'm trying to swag as many spells as possible. I should have just dropped the invisibility spells early. So now this happens. Warden comes in, and the builder hut was able to repair the town hall. But that's alright. That's why you always save a rocket loon or two, because even if the builder hut does repair, the town hall can always be taken out with 1 or 2 rocket loons. So absolutely insane. So now we're just going to drop in the RC just for time. Got an Ice Golem again to distract. AQ powered by the Warden Rage Gem. Going to finish off all of these buildings over here on the right side. And RC more than fine over here on the left side. So yeah, this is basically the pinnacle of Clash. It's just combining hero equipment and having as much fun as you want. So that's why War, I would say, is a lot more fun than Legend League, because you get to custom tailor your army, and by learning this one fundamental attack, you can unlock the entire game and have as much fun as you want. So here we have the Bat Bomb version. Remember, we're regularly swagging 6 spells, so we might as well replace those swag spells with some useful spells. And I swear that Headshots was watching me test the attack before, and selected this base for me to hit because it is perfect for this attack. Because notice the core, see those fire spitters, see those scatter shots, and see those multi-inferno towers. We're going to use the Warden to create a funnel over here at 3, and we've already created a little bit of a funnel over here at 12. We got the Flame Flinger in here at the top right. The Flame Flinger's job is to eliminate that multi-inferno tower. So we're just being patient, letting this Warden create a funnel. And then we're going to pull the Warden with the AQ into this bottom right compartment. Sent that Ice Golem in to distract the Ricochet Cannon, because remember, we want to use our BK ability as close to the interior walls as possible so we can open up as much of the base as possible. So the BK is getting pulled by the enemy clan castle. That can often be a good thing, just because when the enemy clan castle comes out, he will go even closer to the wall. So we're waiting, sending in another Ice Golem. Going to try to freeze up this interior. Forced to use an invisibility spell because we're late with that Ice Golem. Multi-Inferno Tower went down at the top right. AQ 2 ability, Warden 2 ability. Now we have 3 AQs in the core with the Giant all protected, just wrecking the interior of this base. And now the Ice Golem that was also protected also freezes up everything. So here comes the Bat Bomb. Notice Yeti for this Wizard Tower on the outside. These are all of the defenses that you want to have distracted. The splash damage defenses, the Wizard Towers, the scatter shots, the Inferno Towers, the Town Hall, the Fire Spitters. Basically eliminate all them, and then you can have the bats come in and finish off most of the rest of the base. We still have some bats going, distracting the enemy RC, send some headhunters in to kill her, and the Warden is actually now following the bats, and that will be an attack that I will be showing you later, is when you actually use the Warden Rage Gem to power the bats through the base. But that is an insanely difficult attack, and that will have to be at the end of this video. However, it might be top 3 coolest attacks in the entire game, if not top 1. Alright, so bats again, common invisibility base. Going to combine it with the Fireball. Whenever you see invisibility spell bases, you often think Fireball, which is the correct assumption. So we're going to use the Fireball to destroy this bottom invisibility spell compartment, and then we're going to charge into the Town Hall compartment, and we're going to send bats in from about 12 to 9 and finish off this base. Also, notice the Wizard Towers all outside of the base, as they often are. So letting the Warden work on this Ricochet Cannon and the Expo, and that's something kind of crazy about the Warden. The Warden can take on the Ricochet Cannon and the Expo at the same time, as long as he's not distracted by, let's say, enemy defense or enemy clan castle troops. So letting him remove some more defenses. Got a little lazy with the ability. let some clan castle troops come out just fine. Go to ability, eliminate that section, and now we're going to pull the Warden with the AQ here soon. So dropping in a Yeti, and we dropped in the Yeti on the mortar, hoping that the Yeti would work through the mortar and then make it to the wizard tower. And if he makes it to the wizard tower and dies, his Yeti mites will kill the wizard tower, so we're getting a little bit more of a benefit that way. Headhunters in to help the Warden deal with the enemy RC. Valk in to help deal with these skeleton spells, because time might be an issue for us, as we have to be a little patient. We need to kill this multi-archer tower so that the multi-archer tower won't pick off our healers when we pull the Warden with our AQ. Multi-archer tower goes down, now we can pull the Warden with our AQ. Notice how the Warden and the AQ would have walked right past that multi-archer tower. We would have had to drop 4 or 5 rocket loons to kill that multi-archer tower. You need 5 rocket loons to kill the multi-archer tower when you don't have the Warden Rage Gem benefiting, and you need 4 when the Rage Gem also helps. So you're going to do that in Viz, skeleton spell trick. So it's very, very annoying doing a skeleton spell attack when, or a skelly donut next to an invisibility spell tower, but you can use the exact same annoyance to help you eliminate the invisibility spell effect ahead of time. So Ice Golem worked in to help freeze up some of these defenses. Model is still alive, still have AQ ability. Bats are coming in, gonna wreck the rest of this base. And notice we're not sending in any loons in with these bats, because the bats do not trigger air traps. They don't trigger any traps actually. So if you were to send the bats in with some loons, the loons could trigger the air traps, and then the air traps could do their damage to the balloons and to your bats. So you don't want to do that. So we're going to swag 5 spell space and our RC invisibility spell bases. Make sure to have a lot of fun with them. They're all. Alright, so on to the Super Archer Blimp. And Super Archer Blimp, it's really not that insanely difficult, but I have it further down the list just because you run the risk of having all your archers die from a couple giant bombs. So we are going to try to keep our super archers alive with either a druid or a healer in our blimp. Specifically, druids seem to work a little bit better just because you don't have to worry about air bombs coming for your healer. So notice this Ice Golem. Ice Golem's going to walk in towards this multi-archer tower to distract the enemy AQ so we can send the blimp directly over top of her head. So she has got to be upset about that. She just has to watch it while she's all frozen for 9 seconds. Going to clone the super archers ahead, and you can use whatever you want. Super archers work fine and all, but super wizards actually seem to kill the defenses faster. So pick whatever you want, and the super wizards, I believe you can get more done for less spell space invested. You can also use super bowlers, you can also use an E-drag, you can use super minions. Basically, if you get bored using super archers or super wizards, feel free to explore with some other options. But I will say, E-drags are highly unpredictable for as far as where they're going to go and where you're going to put your invisibility spell. So using the Warden to create some pathing again. Warden creates the funnel. Pull the Warden with the AQ. We have the enemy clan castle that's tailing the Warden. So that's something you kind of want to watch out for. Notice the Ice Golem for the monolith. And perfect timing for these enemy Ice Golems because our AQ and Warden are out of harm's way. So now we send in the second Ice Golem. Going to freeze up that monolith again, and we're being extremely patient. Probably almost too patient. We probably could have sent the BK and the RC in from the right side, but we're trying to be as economical as possible. So the AQ is going to eliminate this mortar and going to wrap back around towards this ricochet cannon. This army camp goes down at the top right. BK comes in again, sending in BK to tank and to open up walls. His main job, open up walls and tank for the AQ. This is an army built around the AQ. AQ, strongest hero in the game, even stronger than the RC. RC is a close second, but when you combine both of them together, you have an AQ walk with a Warden Rage Jump to power her, and then you send in the RC parallel to her so that the RC can benefit from all the distracted defenses. It's just, you can do whatever you want in the game. You can literally master all of Clash. So Warden, Eternal Tome ability, all these AQs, Giant safe. The Giants are absolutely ridiculous because you used to have the AQ beat through walls at the end, and the Giant is a second BK, so you have the BK open up the first layer of walls, then you go to AQ ability, and then the Giant opens up the second layer of walls on the back end. Absolutely insane. Especially if the Giant gets upset and rages. He beats through the walls twice as fast. So here we're getting closer to the origin of this strat by using a Giant Arrow in combination with 2 EQs and 3 Lightnings for the Monolith. And notice where the Monolith and the Multi-Inferno Tower were. They were just outside of the AQ's reach. They could have potentially reached the AQ and damaged her or the healers. So we just went ahead, used the Giant Arrow with the Zap to eliminate the Multi-Inferno Tower and the Monolith. So now we have a nice, easy AQ charge, and it doesn't matter which direction the AQ goes because this base is symmetrical, as a lot of them are. Diamond bases are the best for this attack strategy, just because it's an easy Giant Arrow, and because diamond bases, it seems that you can deal with the defenses more on a one-on-one basis. Where square bases, you encounter a group of defenses all at the same time, and they can overwhelm your AQ. Speaking of an overwhelmed AQ, you have to watch out for Rage Spell Tower compartments. So we got the BK. BK's walking in. Remember, he's the tank for the AQ. Got this Ice Golem. Trying to get the Ice Golem as deep into this compartment as possible. Sending in our second Ice Golem. Trying to get that Ice Golem out in front of the AQ. And we're trying to get the BK into where he can open up the wall for the Town Hall access for the AQ. So since the BK was in danger of using his ability, went ahead, dropped an invisibility spell on him to protect him and force him towards the wall. This way, we're able to open up the entire core of the base for the AQ. Now the AQ will be able to get in behind the Town Hall and get in behind this remaining Fire Spitter. Dropping in this RC, notice this Expo is tanking on the BK. Synergy, always should be thinking about synergy. AQ steps up, eliminates the Town Hall. We've got 1 Ice Golem and 3 Rocket Loons left. So, sending in that Ice Golem to help distract this Expo for the RC. RC cannot outrange the Expo. And notice the Ice Golem with those Rocket Loons, we were able to use the Rocket Loons to kill that outside defense to force the Ice Golem into this compartment so that the RC can step up and eliminate 2 frozen dangerous defenses, Expo and the Multi-Arch Tower. And that's a lot of times what you can use the Rocket Loons to do, to snipe the outside defenses so that the Ice Golems can push farther into the core of the base so they can be of more use to your heroes. This is an attack built solely around maximizing your heroes. And in maximizing your heroes, you can do whatever you want in the entirety of the game. And the great thing about using the Giant Arrow in combination with your EQs and Zaps is that you save some spell space. So we're going to use our saved spell space to do a Collateral Giant Arrow Zap. So notice where these Infernos are, these single target Infernos that would melt through our AQ or our Warden. We're just simply going to zap both of them out of the road. And another great little trick in the game is that 2 EQs plus the Giant Arrow will eliminate a spell tower. So you see these poison spell towers right next to the Inferno towers. We can drape our EQs over both of those defenses. So we're going to drape our EQs over the Inferno towers and the poison spell towers. And we're going to put our Giant Arrow through all 4 of these defenses. So Giant Arrow down kills both poison spell towers. Now we do not have to worry about them. And then we just drop in 2 EQs apiece for the single Inferno towers. And now they're both dead. And now we're just going to send this BK in. His job is to hurry up and get hooked. We want the BK to step up for this hook, get hooked, and open up this core for our AQ. So BK gets hooked. Somehow the spiky ball goes all the way around and back towards the single target Inferno. And now we have direct pathing for this AQ right into the core of this base. Absolutely insane. Sending in the Ice Golems to stall up some of these defenses. And notice the Ice Golem's going to step up and help distract this super drag on defense. Ice Golem gets popped, distracts this enemy AQ, sending in some Yetis down here. Yetis are to eliminate some of these defenses, and the Yetis you can also use to help clean up. That's a great thing about Yetis. They will also help clean up. So AQ, we do not have her ability to save her, so we have to rely on the Eternal Tome. So we do not have the AQ ability for in the core of the base because we use the AQ ability on the outside to do some really cool collateral action. So we need to rely on the Warden Eternal Tome along with Ice Golems to protect her. So now we have the RC meeting up, also benefiting from this Warden Rage Gem. Super minions come out of the Flame Flinger. Also notice there's one furnace in this Flame Flinger because I like to bring one furnace because the Fire Mites will actually lure the enemy heroes towards where the Flame Flinger is, and they will lure the enemy heroes towards where the super minions are. So the super minions will not have to charge into the base and get hit by enemy defenses. The super minions can just relax on the outside of the base protected and kill off the enemy heroes that way. Alright, so this was at the beginning of Town Hall 17, and notice you would have to use 2 more EQs as now there's another level of Inferno Tower, but this is going to be a triple collateral. You can get absolutely crazy with the zaps and the giant arrow, and it's a lot of fun. So we got this Flame Flinger down, doing work as always. It's nice to create a little pathing, create a little setup with your rocket loons. And just a quick little note, this is an absolutely insane giant arrow. It has to be absolutely perfect to hit all 3 of these defenses. So to do that, especially on a side when it's not a diamond automatic giant arrow, you have to select a spot in the dirt. So you notice that tiny little spot where I placed my AQ, I had pre-zoomed in and figured out that that would be perfectly lined up. So I knew when I had to zoom in to drop my AQ what tiny little speck of dirt that I needed to look for to make sure that that giant arrow landed. Because if you do not do that, if you do not select your tiny little piece of dirt, you will not hit the triple collat, especially on a side base like this. So now we have the AQ, BK, Warden, exact same thing you've always been seeing this entire video. And on the right side, we're just going to go ahead and send in our RC. And at the beginning of Tunnel 17, you could do this attack with whatever you wanted. Bases weren't maxed, so I have some P.E.K.K.A.s instead of Ice Golems. You could do it with Giants, you could do it with basically any tanky ground troop. Giants, Golems, Yetis. It was really a lot of fun. And you lower tunnels, you'll be able to do it with whatever. You could even use Barch because this hero synergy is so strong. So now I got the RC sneaking in. Notice our Flame Flinger got picked off by that mortar. So we did not properly base identify. RC works up, coming in behind this Fire Spitter, perfectly safe, going to ability. And notice we have 3 spells left. Use the Eternal Tome, protect the AQ, and remember, we're using the Eternal Tome as a level of protection for the AQ since we're using the AQ's ability right off the bat. And that's what makes this attack kind of a sure thing. It's kind of crazy. But it's this late in the replays because hitting a side giant arrow like that is insanely difficult. Alright, so let's see what this is. Oh, this is, now we're getting into the combination of giant arrow with fireball. And we're going to fireball the town hall. Yes, we're going to hit the town hall from this far away. Notice the 2x2 little whatever building that is at the left corner. That makes it an automatic, perfectly inline giant arrow. That's why diamond bases are the easiest to do the giant arrow zap versions or giant arrow anything versions, because if you have like a 3x3 or a 2x2 building in the outside corner, it's an automatic dead straight on giant arrow. But be careful with army camps, because army camps, just like with the freeze that I showed you earlier in this video, how you target the core for the freeze, the AQ also targets the core of that army camp, that 4x4 building. So she will actually take a step towards the army camp before she shoots, and that step she never takes straight on. So when she takes a step, she'll take a side step, and then your giant arrow will always be off by a couple tiles. So we're removing some of these defenses, doing some setup with the rocket loons, and notice we have the BK down because we want the BK to path down here in towards where this multi-archer tower is, so we can use his ability. Look at how dangerously close the BK was going to go the wrong way. So we had to put that wizard down to force him back towards this multi-archer tower. And we're just waiting. He gets close enough to this multi-archer tower. Now we get to use his ability, and the spiky ball goes through all of these defenses. So notice this Inferno Tower. That Inferno Tower is going to go down from the spiky ball and the giant arrow. We have the ice golem down to make sure that our AQ is safe from this ricochet cannon. Now we have to invis the ricochet cannon 3 other spots and fireball all the way across the map deep. So now we're just going to be patient again, as always with this attack. We basically do a lot of work for the setup, and then we create a nice leisurely AQ charge. And notice we're not going to be taking on too many defenses at a time. However, notice we still have just a minute of time, so we need to be cautious of time fails. So we were late with the wall breaker. Wanted the AQ to step right into that compartment because we wanted to use another wall breaker to open her up to reach or go straight on with that multi-inferno tower. So instead, sending in the RC also benefiting from this Warden rage jump, dropping in the skeleton spell for the monolith. Then there's no splash, no infernos, no nothing to kill all these skeleton spells. So our RC and AQ can work through that monolith, no problem at all. Using RC ability, trying to avoid this time fail. And the crazy thing is, like, if you really want to avoid a time fail, you do not use the rocket spear ability, because you want to let your RC go close to the buildings so that her electro boot aura will also damage buildings. So now the RC comes up, finishes off this expo to make that awesome giant arrow FB town hall kill, not a time fail. That really sucks. Alright, so now we're into the origin of the strat. This is the combination of the giant arrow zap with the fireball for the town hall takedown and for zapping out another section of the base. So for this base, notice where this monolith compartment is. If we send our giant arrow in from 12, we can go right through the monolith and right through the town hall, and then we can zap out the monolith compartment with that flame spinner, and then all we have to do is drop in 2 invisibility spells over top of each fire spitter, expo, and multi-inferno tower, and then we have a direct shot for the town hall with our fireball. So we're using our rocket loons, setting up again as always. The rocket loons are always for prep, typically always for prep. So now we've eliminated all these outside defenses. Our flame flinger is doing work, what we always want to do. We want to give some free buildings while we're doing our setup. So now all we have to do is just zap out this monolith compartment, drop the 2 invisibility spells, and then we will go directly to the town hall with the fireball. And notice that people will put Teslas or skeleton traps, and they will throw off your giant arrow. So always test with a barb. So we tested. Tesla popped up. 2x2 buildings are easier to aim than 3x3 or 4x4. So we're able to use that to our benefit, actually. And then we just zap out the monolith compartment and fireball right to the town hall, and we completely gut this entire core of the base. Now we have a nice easy AQ charge again, and now we're just trying to predict which direction the AQ will walk. I thought the AQ was going to walk to the right, however I was late with that wall breaker, so the AQ repathed, went over to this expo. I wanted her to meet up with the BK because I wanted the BK to push in towards this multi-arch tower so that I could use his ability and he could open up this compartment so that the AQ could push in towards where the enemy clan castle is. However, the AQ decided she wanted to cooperate, and she came back actually. So we dropped this Yeti and Wizard to force the BK back up towards where this bomb tower is, and hopefully get him to open up where this ricochet cannon is. So he goes to ability, opens it up. However, he was too far away from the AQ to directly break through, or to get through both of those walls. So now we have the BK, he's distracting this baby drag, so we're going to synergize the RC with the BK. RC goes to ability, Gonna outrange some of these defenses. We're outranging some of these defenses just so that we can force this Ice Golem in towards the core and hopefully stall up this enemy minion prince, because the enemy minion prince shoots faster than headhunters. He's an absolute pain, so it's nice to get rid of him. So see, we did some setup and we just completely gutted this base and 3-spell swag. But yeah, one of the most fun attacks in the game. And you can also zap behind the Town Hall. Again, this is another difficult giant arrow because it is a side giant arrow. When you do corner giant arrows, typically they are guaranteed. However, this base, they would not be guaranteed just because they're army camps. Any other building in the corners, that's a guaranteed, direct, perfect diagonal giant arrow. So we're setting up again, using some Yetis. And I like to use the Yetis because you can use a Yeti to power through one defense, and then the Yeti mites will spring forward to kill another defense. So it's almost a 2-for-1 bargain that you're getting. So you save some troop space, and then for your emergency defenses that are deeper in, you use the rocket loons. So again, we pre-measured where we're going to drop our AQ, and notice we already EQ'd and zapped the monolith because there's no builder huts there. No builder huts to repair the monolith. And notice this ice golem, or this regular golem. This regular golem is there to distract both of these expos, because 2 expos on that AQ could have damaged her. So we distract those expos with the golem, and then we just invis the expos and the inferno towers, launch the fireball into the core, and we already had the giant arrow eliminate the monolith and multi-arch tower on the backside. So now there's no splash from that multi-arch tower to kill off headhunters. So now we're just being patient, letting this AQ walk, try to get a kill with that ricochet cannon with the baby drag, being patient with this BK so that the BK can step up farther and we can use his ability to open up this entire backside for the AQ. Going to go ahead and drop this siege barracks. This is probably the only time you'll see the siege barracks over the flame flinger. They're helping to distract enemy AQ, and we're sending the RC opposite because we will be running out of time. So now we're trying to use the RC rocket spear to outrange some of these defenses, specifically the ricochet cannon. Notice there was no buildings to distract the Spirit Fox, so the Spirit Fox walked up to the ricochet cannon and got killed. Drop down a skeleton spell, distract this multi-gear tower and the enemy minion prince. RC steps up, minion prince goes down, and the base is done. So yeah, you can have as much fun in Clash as you want, and that's what this video is all about. It's just showing you all the different tricks that you can do to make this game not boring, because honestly, we've been going on 2 years of the same meta. It's kind of crazy. Fireball is back now, but it's kind of a reduced version because you have the ice block to do the fireball, so it's not nearly as fun because the fireball is almost automatic now. There used to be a lot of risk because you didn't know which way the Warden was going to path, and if he went left or right, sometimes that would force his fireball to different locations. So notice this trick. We eliminated the mortars so they couldn't splash damage 2 barbarians. We dropped in 3 barbarians to distract this BK, and then we followed up with 2 headhunters. And that is a very nice trick, especially if there's no splash damage. If there's no defenses that can eliminate them, you can get a free BK kill with just 3 barbs and 2 headhunters. That is a Navi Stars trick from his Town Hall 15 Zap LaLo days. Absolutely phenomenal. Alright, so we're going to send the giant arrow through, and we're not going to go for the Town Hall because I want to show you the major difference between Town Hall 16 and below and Town Hall 17, and that is you can use the Flame Flinger to get a free Town Hall kill. So went ahead, zapped out the monolith. Probably wouldn't have had to zap out the monolith, but just feeling crazy. So go ahead, open up this compartment for the AQ, sending the BK over here to 9 because we want the BK to eliminate a bunch of defenses so that we can direct target this Rage spell tower in the core. And again, this is to show you the major defense, or the major difference between Town Hall 16 and Town Hall 17. And notice that giant arrow had weakened the Town Hall, so the Town Hall is down already. So we do not have to worry about that Gigabomb or the Inferno. Used an Overgrowth to cover some of those defenses to the left, and then 2 Invis to target that Rage Tower, completely eliminate the core, and yeah, you guys can have as much fun in the game as you want. And I hear people wanting Legend League to come to War. Legend League to War would be fun and all, but you really, it's not the root cause of the pain in Clash. The root cause is there's not that much risk in the game anymore. It'd be nice to promote more risk, where you have to do kind of insanely complicated strats to be able to negate some of these critical defenses. Root Riders were in a great spot at the end of Tunnel 16 because there was the risk of the Town Hall explosion. People were putting overgrowths on the Town Hall and waiting for the Town Hall to be the last building. So you had the risk of 1-starring, and then all that risk from Tunnel 16, they just removed at Tunnel 17. They got rid of the bomb, they got rid of the poison. It's just, I don't understand it. So here we have a triple collateral, only we're going to be taking out the Town Hall as well. So notice the Monolith and the multi-Inferno Tower down at 6. They would be terrible for an AQ charge. So we're going to eliminate them. Then we're also going to take out both Fire Spitters. And since the Giant Arrow is also going to be going through the Town Hall, we're also going to send the Warden in from 12 and then recall him. So the Warden, we do not have any more invisibility spells, so we have to rely on these Yetis. Notice these Yetis are going to power through these bomb towers with the help of wizards, and then the Yeti Mites are going to spring forward and eliminate these defenses. So we're going to go ahead, put down our EQs, and we can do this because the Builder Huts in question will not be able to repair in time, and we could not get our Giant Arrow off from 12 because it's blocked. So Warden, Fireball, Town Hall, Recall, AQ, automatic Giant Arrow from 6, and the entire core of the base is gutted. The only crazy thing is we have 0 spells left. So how are we going to do this? Well, with our spell replacement, the Ice Golem. Again, the best troop in the game. It's not even an event troop. So the Ice Golem steps in. It's going to tank this Ricochet Cannon, as always. Somehow that wall breaker decided he really wanted to live and destroy that wall so that we could have a cool replay for this video. Makes it all the way to the wall. BK steps into the core. We're hoping the BK can get to a point where he can open up this entire core for the AQ. He's going deep. He goes right to the middle of the base and he opens it all up. We have the RC coming in, benefiting. See this Expo where the RC is? It's stuck on the AQ. So the Expo isn't doing anything to the RC. And that is the beauty of this hero synergy. So now the RC comes in, and we're direct targeting this Expo with some Rocket Loons, sending in this Ice Golem. The Ice Golem was way late though. But that's the crazy thing about when you have your Spirit Fox alive. So the Ice Golem was late to distract that Ricochet Cannon for the RC, but since the Spirit Fox was still alive, it was able to still distract for the RC. And we have 1 Ice Golem left over. We just use all our spells right off the bat, and that is the most thrilling thing about these attacks, is the heavy investment, that if the investment goes wrong, you can kind of fail pretty hard, but it's just so satisfying when the attacks work. And you see all those little FCs that I did, I was testing to see which way I should use my equipments, the Giant Arrow and the Fireball, because I need to target this Monolith at the same time, because I do not want one equipment, either the Giant Arrow or the Fireball, to hit the Monolith before the other, because that will activate the invisibility spell tower, and then I will not be able to hit the Monolith or get a straight Giant Arrow shot or get a correct Fireball. So I'm going to Fireball, because that stays in the air longer, the Monolith, and immediately after launching the Fireball, I'm going to drop down the Giant Arrow to also target the Monolith, again with a 3 barb and 2 Headhunter trick. So had to use a wall breaker to open up this wall compartment so that the AQ would be able to reach the Monolith, because if the AQ can't reach the Monolith, she would walk to the side to these elixir collectors, and we want the AQ to walk towards the Monolith because she needs to target the Monolith so that we can send the Giant Arrow right straight through the core of the space, and then we can kill these fire spitters in the core. See where the fire spitters right next to each other? And there also is an invisibility spell tower. We're gonna zap out this. We're gonna zap out these fire spitters, and we're gonna giant arrow through them. And then we're also gonna fireball this monolith. So fireball the monolith, and immediately afterwards put the AQ down. And notice we had to fire that giant arrow immediately, because if the AQ steps forward, she sidesteps, and then the giant arrow will not be on target. So to make sure that the giant arrow is straight, we have to pop the AQ ability before she has a chance to step or sidestep forward. So straight managed to eliminate both fire spitters. Now it doesn't matter which direction the AQ goes. We already killed the BK that was stopping Flame Flinger value, so our Flame Flinger is able to absolutely just eliminate a bunch of stuff. We were late with an Ice Golem, so the BK, we had to drop an invisibility spell on top of him so that he could walk forward and use his EQ boots to open up and give access to this Town Hall for our AQ, sending in our RC again to try to corral our AQ and keep her in the core. Flame Flinger is still doing work, trying to eliminate this bomb tower before the RC gets there. Drop down 2 rocket loons just to eliminate that archer tower. Probably didn't need to use them. Probably could have used that on the back end. So now the Warden has stepped up with the RC, coming back to the AQ. RC already used ability, so we had to go ahead and use an invisibility spell and a skeleton spell to distract this Royal Champion, and also the Ricochet and Expo. Notice we still had to use a free spell on the Ricochet and the Expo, and that's where it gets frustrating, when you know that you could swag more spells than what you end up swagging. So that will be probably the worst experience that you'll have with this strat, is when you realize that you could have just went crazy with some swag spells. So if all this wasn't crazy enough for you, we now have the skeleton donut version. Notice where the monolith is. The monolith is in a spot that is inaccessible to the AQ. She would walk around that section, get picked off by the monolith. So we're going to go ahead and Skelly donut that monolith, and while we're at it, we're going to get the clan castle, we're going to get an Inferno Tower, and we're going to get an Expo, and we're going to attempt to force the skeletons from the Expo to the Fire Spitter. So EQ, again, distracting these builder huts. And I forgot to mention, in those previous giant arrow versions, you want to distract the builder huts. So now, invisibility spell, trying to force these skeleton spells towards the Fire Spitter. However, an enemy hero, if that enemy hero starts targeting the skeleton spells, they will start to go towards the enemy hero, and they will lose focus on the defense you want them to eliminate. So using a Yeti to create a funnel, could have just used the Warden. So now the AQ is down. Going to step up, going to eliminate this enemy Royal Champion. AQ is going to walk towards the right, and we're timing the Flame Flinger with that Ice Golem. So notice the Ice Golem now freezes up that minion prince, so we're able to send in 2 Headhunters. And now we're also going to be able to kill this Ricochet Cannon in combination with the AQ and the Flame Flinger. But now, since we were able to kill that minion prince, the Flame Flinger is able to walk down here towards the left and get a bunch more value. So sent in the wall breakers, and we had to make sure that the wall breakers opened up that section so the BK had something to target, so he did not walk around. If he would have dropped the BK down right away without access to a core building, he would have targeted one of these outside buildings, and we wouldn't have been able to benefit from his EQ boots opening up access to the Town Hall for the AQ. So we're trying to send in some rocket loons to snipe off this multi-Inferno Tower, just in case the AQ wouldn't have targeted. However, she does target, and notice we still have the 2 levels of protection. So we had the AQ ability, and we also have the Eternal Tome, which is what makes this attack just so insane, because we're able to save and conserve our abilities with the Ice Golems to use our abilities in critical points in the core. So now this pain, annoying Fire Spitter we were able to eliminate with these super minions. And now we have the RC working on the outside, benefiting from all these defenses being distracted. The giant in combination with the BK open up access, and we're going to swag 3 spells and RC ability. So base identification. So it absolutely opens up whatever you want to do in the game. And here we have an FC, and I just want to show you combinations. So this is going to be a Skelly Donut in combination with Sneaky Gobs for the Town Hall. So we're going to Skelly Donut the Clan Castle and this Fire Spitter over here to the left because we want to enter in from the top right, and we do not want that Fire Spitter facing our AQ and Warden when they come in. So see all these builder huts right next to the Clan Castle and the Fire Spitter? We're going to have to drop an EQ somewhat directly over top of all 4 of those builder huts to distract them. We've got the Warden down to 12. He's going to create a funnel, a pre-funnel, to get our AQ in at the top right. And now we're going to distract these builder huts with the EQ, followed by the Rage, Invis first, and then we put down our skeleton spells. Invisibility spells last 4 seconds, so we're going to drop them just under 4 seconds to overlap our skeletons without any splash damage picking them off. So just managed to get our clan castle down. Now we can go back up and focus on eliminating this town hall with our Sneaky Gobs. And this town hall is far away, so we're going to have to use a combination of haste and jump spell. And the reason we're not using a wall breaker is because a wall breaker, since this town hall isn't close to the wall, would actually open up these other compartments. And then the Sneaky Gobs would get distracted on the other collectors or storages. So base identification. So now the Warden created a funnel, Ice Golem down to distract this Ricochet Cannon, as always, BK creating a funnel on the other side, meeting up with our AQ, Ice Golem in to help tank, sending in this Headhunter for the enemy BK, Ice Golem steps up, manages to freeze, perfect timing, because we did not want the Ice Golem to get caught by that hook tower, so that our BK could get caught. So BK opens up everything, and now notice where this enemy Fire Spitter would have been facing our AQ, it's been eliminated. So our AQ can just walk straight forward. And we still have the AQ ability, we have the Warden Eternal Tome ability, and we've managed to kill all these enemy heroes already. So now we have the RC working around on the outside, as we always do, corralling our AQ on the inside, keeping the AQ in the inside, tanking for our RC, dropping down a Valk. And we're putting these Valks down because they will help chew through these outside defenses and force this Ice Golem in more towards the centralized defenses. So notice this backside Ricochet Cannon, saving an Ice Golem for that. And this way we can swag a spell and 2 abilities. So yeah, you can pretty much open up the entire world of Clash with this one attack strategy. And I would start with the Legend League versions, and if you're having trouble in the current meta, in the current legend sort of mode, just go ahead and use it in revenge attacks, because you will absolutely destroy, just absolutely destroy bases. You should be able to swag all 14 spells in every revenge. So here we go in, and again, trying to check out some Flameflinger value. So testing the range of these defenses, the range of these heroes, testing with some barbs, managed to pull Skeleton Trap. So I'm going to drop a Whiz to kill the skeletons, and now we'll be able to eliminate a Ricochet Cannon and potentially the enemy AQ. Going ahead, testing, trying to see if we can get some free funneling buildings with some archers. And you always want to plan ahead, because if you plan ahead and do your funneling early, you can always funnel for really cheap. So we're going to do a Skeleton Donut. We're going to eliminate this Fire Spitter. Remember when we did the Zap version earlier on in the video? We wanted to remove that Fire Spitter so that our RC can come from the 12 o'clock direction and not get shot by that Fire Spitter. So that Fire Spitter goes down, Clan Castle goes down, and now we have the bumper bowling, we have the trading wheels on the Warden to make sure he stays in one spot, make our fireball super easy, and we're going to hit this Rage Tower compartment, completely eliminate that, pull Warden back up towards the top right with our AQ. So now both, or most of the absolutely insanely damaging defenses to our raid are finished off. And we happen to use all of our spells. So we have 0 spells left, but there's really not too much left on the base that can be of any damage to us, because we still have some spells in the sense that we have Ice Golems and we have the AQ ability. So dropping in some Rocket Loons just to help power through that monolith. And notice we have no enemy clan castle to deal with. AQ's kind of walking a little bit too much or too close to the top left. So we're trying to make sure that she goes back to the core. So we're dropping in this RC. So the RC eliminates those defenses, or those buildings, collectors, forces the AQ back into the core. And now we're trying to time when the AQ's ability would be most beneficial for the RC. So in this timing, the great thing about using the giant arrow is it's basically putting brakes on the RC. It'd be like if your car went too far forward and was in flood range, you can just hit the brakes and wait for the flood to pass, the flood of defenses to pass, and then reappear. So the RC did her ability, let the AQ kind of get up close to where she could benefit a little bit, and then re-engaged. And that's something you can use your rocket spear for a lot, is when you're encountering too many defenses and the RC, since she only targets defenses, gets ahead of your AQ, you can go ahead and use her rocket spear ability to make her stay in place so the AQ has a chance to catch up so they can synergize. Alright, so this is about as crazy as it gets in war. This is a Sneaky Gob for Town Hall, Warden Fireball, Skelly Donut. So we're going to Skeleton Spell, Skelly Donut, the Monolith, and the enemy clan castle. Going to put a Fireball on top of the Fire Spitter over here at the left side, and we're going to put the Flame Flinger down right next to this mortar. Notice how the mortar has that dead zone around it? So we're going to benefit from that dead zone. So dropping these Yetis, and again, this is why I like the Yetis, because the Yeti will hit one defense, weaken it, and then when it dies, the Yeti might spring forward and you get 2 for 1. So Flame Flinger, right next to the mortar. Mortar can't hit it. We've eliminated all those defenses, so we can drop the Warden down and immediately get that Fire Spitter. So EQs, or 1 EQ, followed by the Rage, followed by the Invis. Want to be 3 tiles away from 3x3 buildings. So you just measure 3 tiles to the right of the monolith, 3 tiles to the bottom right of the clan castle. Put an extra Invis down, just in case. Probably wouldn't have needed it. So now the Warden's going to go down. Warden needs to kill this mortar, and then he should be able to direct target this Fire Spitter and damage this entire top left compartment, or eliminate this entire top left compartment. So the Fireball goes down. We're able to take out 2 ricochet cannons and an enemy hero. So now we pull the Warden with the AQ. A little bit of a high damage area. We got 2 expos. We got a multi-gear tower. So we're sending in the BK to help tank with the AQ. And since we have the BK, 2 Ice Golems, the AQ is pretty much set. We really don't have to worry about her anymore. And also, she has her ability. BK, the only thing is we're trying to get BK to a point where he can open up walls for the AQ. So his ability is the one thing we're kind of worried about. Go ahead, drop the haste. Get this wall breaker in to open up the walls. And now we have to eliminate these dark elixir collectors. And we're trying to eliminate this town hall before it can do any splash damage on our AQ. So now we're sending in these Sneaky Gobs, waiting. And those were to test for traps. So we had some Sneaky Gobs left, and now these are the ones that we want to protect. So we're going to go ahead, drop the invisibility spell, eliminate the town hall. Now we're letting our AQ Ghost to ability to help try to fight a time fail. And we're sending in our RC opposite again to try to stop a time fail. And notice this Spirit Fox got targeted by the single and the expo right away, so the Spirit Fox goes down. But everything's good. Giants out there tanking, trying to sneak in some headhunters for this enemy minion prince. Giant manages to distract these wizard towers so we can get our cleanup down. And we managed to pull off a Sneaky Gob, Fireball, Skelly Donut with 1 second to spare. So, if the previous attacks weren't crazy enough for you, the remaining 3 are the most difficult, most insane, most nearly impossible attacks in the game. So starting off with The third most difficult is a double recall. And what we're going to be doing is powering the AQ with the Warden as always, only when the AQ gets hooked, we're going to have to recall the Warden first so that the Warden doesn't follow the AQ into the core and get himself killed. And then after the AQ does what she needs to do in the core, we're going to then recall her. So extremely base specific. AQ steps up, waiting for her to get hooked. AQ gets hooked. Invisibility spell. AQ goes to ability, using Healer Puppet just to make sure that the AQ gets a nice little boost of health so that she doesn't immediately die. So now we're letting the AQ go to work, and we want to eliminate both these Fire Spitters. Remember, Fire Spitters, worst defense in the game. So the AQ is about dead, recall before the Inferno Artillery splashes on her, and now we're going to redeploy the AQ and then redeploy the Warden in behind her. So notice the AQ goes down, her health is low, so we have an Ice Golem out in front to tank, and we're hoping this Ice Golem dies soon, freezes up the enemy Archer Queen and the enemy Ricochet Cannon. Warden, Rage Gem with the healers, has revived the AQ back to full health. Now we just have to worry about this multi-target Inferno Tower, so we're sending in the BK to cut off the AQ's padding, also, again, to meet up with the AQ, so that he can open up the core of the base. BK decides to walk around, however that's not too bad because he still will be able to give the AQ access to the Town Hall. And compared to some of the previous attacks, this might not seem like it belongs in the top 3, but this attack is extremely hard to execute because you need to rely on your AQ having her ability when she gets hooked. And there's a lot of defenses that can kill her before she gets hooked and her ability can be used in the core. Also, you rely on base identification, and this attack is very susceptible to time fails. I've done this in regular wars probably 10 or 12 times, and nearly all of them are time fails, where everything goes off flawlessly, but you still time fail. So top 3, this attack is absolutely insane. So trying to distract with some Ice Golems again. AQ went down, we got the Warden working on the backside, and you can see time is an issue even in this friendly challenge. I believe this was attempt 2 on this space, and notice time is still an issue. Down to 15 seconds. And on to the second most difficult attack, another FC. Don't worry, the single most difficult attack will be an actual war hit, but this attack I'm calling Bats Around the World, and it is the second most difficult attack strategy in the game because everything has to be perfect, and you have to use extreme base identification. So notice we have multi-infernos, all 3 of them in the core. We have both Fire Spitters in the core. We have the Town Hall. All of those defenses are very dangerous to bats, so we're going to overgrowth them, sending the Warden in here at 12, and the Warden's job will be to eliminate this Ricochet Cannon, eliminate this Wizard Tower, eliminate this Expo, eliminate the Scatter Shot, and the Multi-Archer Tower, and the enemy AQ. While he's doing that, distracting the Expo, we have the Flame Flinger working to the top right. So sending in an Ice Golem to distract the AQ, because the Warden has the Fireball. That's going to be the surprise near the end of this attack. The Warden has the Fireball, so we do not have any leeway. We need to keep him safe. So we're sending in some Yetis. Notice the Yeti with the Wizard, able to work through the first Wizard Tower, and then also get the second Wizard Tower. This would have taken 3 or 4 Rocket Loons to do the exact same. So now we're trying to actually target the enemy clan castle. We want to lure this enemy clan castle so that we do not have any fire mites come out, enter the base, and then potentially roast our bats. So we used the 1 Rocket Loon to make sure that the furnace came out, and then we immediately used a wall breaker while the monolith was distracted to target the wall and pull the enemy Ice Golems. So now the Warden will be able to eliminate all of the enemy clan castle before the bats go down. So now we have the Warden stepping up, going to take out this multi-archer tower, and we want this multi-archer tower gone because you do not want to put a bunch of bats when they're starting out into a multi-archer tower. The multi-archer tower will shred them. You can take out a multi-archer tower when you have the full bat wave, but not when they're starting out. So we're dropping the overgrowth, over the Town Hall, all the multi-targeting defenses, and then we're immediately putting a skeleton spell right here by the Town Hall to distract the enemy heroes, because we need to keep this Warden alive. And now we have the bats around the world portion. We have the bats coming in, and they're all being powered by this Warden Rage Gem. And the bats, notice they're out in front of the Sneezy and the projectiles. The projectiles, they get held up on normal buildings, so the bats that are only defense targeting only, they can push forward and work through the base. So the bats just traveled all the way around the world. They've eliminated everything, and the only defenses now remaining are the overgrowth defenses. So now we're just going to wait for the Warden, and this is the surprise. When the overgrowth wears off, we have 3 EQs. So now we just use a fireball, eliminate most of those defenses, and since we have the 3 EQs, we can giant arrow that Town Hall out of there. So now we've just eliminated the entire base, and we just have our heroes left to clean up everything. So BK Spiky Ball just to finish off the base, and bats around the world still have yet to land that in war. Absolutely ridiculously insane attack. Works best on invisibility bases that look exactly like that one, where you have all the splash in the core. So this is the #1 most difficult attack in the game. This is the skeleton spell for the Town Hall and the Clan Castle, and this is a Cynthia special. If any of you guys remember Town Hall 15 Worlds, Cynthia did this at Town Hall 15 using super barbs. It's absolutely the most exhilarating attack in the game, because you invest every single spell on 2 buildings, and the Town Hall really doesn't do too much damage at Town Hall 17. This is basically a swag attack when you want to increase the risk and make the game as exciting as possible. So you need all those skeleton spells to lay out just perfectly, because if they go outside of the invisibility spell, the splash damage from the Town Hall Inferno Artillery will kill all of them, and you will waste every single spell, and then you'll be left without any spells, and you'll have to try to make it through the base. So now comes the crazy part. If that wasn't crazy enough, now we have to get through the rest of the base without any spells. And if you remember the very first attack that I showed you, it is possible, but you really do not have any selection on base identification like remaining, because you have to select a base perfectly based on how you can Skelly Donut the Clan Castle and the Town Hall, and then you have to pick a base where you can somehow try to get your AQ and Warden to work all the way around. So I just messed up big time. I did not distract that ricochet cannon, and that is what I'm trying to tell you guys. The ricochet cannon, it will bounce off your AQ and then hit your Warden. So I just lost a level of protection for my AQ. So now everything is very critical. I have no fail safes other than the AQ ability. So using some rocket loons to help the flame flinger power through that ricochet cannon to keep the AQ and the Warden alive. So AQ steps up, we have the BK, and the BK is in this position where if we use his ability soon, we should be able to open up this base for the AQ. So we open up the base for the AQ, and we're trying to predict now the best place to put our RC. And with this Fire Spitter left alive, notice how the Fire Spitter is trying to pick off these healers, and that the AQ will eventually have to pass towards this Fire Spitter. So dropping in an Ice Golem to stall up this enemy monolith so that I can get my RC to sneak in behind that Fire Spitter. But here's where I really messed up. I put that Ice Golem in too early. Just managed to have the RC cycle with the Spear Fox, so the RC is going to be able to take out the monolith, and the monolith was locked onto that Yeti, and now can use the RC ability to shoot forward, take out this spell tower and the Fire Spitter, and the AQ is going to finish everything up. And notice time is always an issue. But yeah, absolutely insane. And if you stayed throughout the entire video, I hope you enjoyed, and I've done my civic duty. I have shared my knowledge with the Clash community, and I can rest easy now. So thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys would like me to share some practice bases showing you guys how to do these attacks for FCs, let me know in the comments.